Yeah.
Oh, welcome Dharini, welcome Poonamji, Madhulin, everybody. So thank you, thank you. This is a Talk to Big Year session, and Anjali, our favorite speaker, Anjali, she will be talking about maybe Visak, maybe Buddha Purnima, maybe the adventure she is taking and she is planning this week. Every time there is an adventure whenever we hear Anjali. So yesterday we celebrated Buddha Purnima. That is the main topic, but welcome Anjali from Talk to Big Ears. And after a month, we are hearing from you. So welcome, welcome, and over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anuradha. And thank you very much for pulling me back into the fray. It is always a pleasure, and you push me, and I do it. Otherwise, I would not. So, thank you very much. Can you just change this?
Change, matlab, what to change? I have made you like spotlight. I've done spotlight.
Yeah. So, this is it. Okay. So, today we are going to talk about Gautam Buddha, and it is very interesting that for the last maybe couple of weeks, have been dwelling deep into the same philosophy, not necessarily the Buddhist philosophy, but very close to that. So it's again a divine design that I get this opportunity to talk about whatever I am going through. And Anu, it is so uncanny that when you tell me to talk about something, I always have some of my personal experiences to share and to talk about. So thank you very much. And here goes. So, like everybody knows, yesterday was Buddh Purnima. Buddh Purnima had a super duper beautiful moon. I hope everybody saw it. It was a healing moon, and the energies were wonderful. You could have charged your crystals, just wash your crystals under running water and put them out into outside where it can get direct moonlight. And that is when these crystals, all the crystals have their own values, they all have their own qualities, and you keep them for a specific purpose. So once you cleanse them and once they get that energy of the moon, it reactivates. So it was a wonderful night to do that. And if you have not done it, you can still do it today, because that energy would still be there a little bit. A lot of people did their meditations at night, the full moon Purnima, Buddh Purnima meditations, which again raises your vibration so much that you become very receptive, and you hear what you normally don't hear. You feel what you normally don't feel. You can sense those, your sensory organs become so much stronger, because that energy has been channeled into you. So now, having said all of this, we will just get down to a little bit of theory and how this theory has touched me practically. Okay. So, like we have spoken about the book Siddharth earlier in one of our Talk to Big Ear sessions, and we did talk about the movie also Siddharth, and it was very close to the teachings of Buddha, and very very interestingly, uh, you know, the stone. Each time now I see the stone, I'm reminded of the teachings of Buddha. It is such a strange thing, because in that book also we had read, if any of you were there for that session, that nothing ever perishes in this world. There is nothing that finishes completely. That stone has the mud, that mud came from the soil, the soil was developed by maybe fossils, those fossils were living things, those living things were again fossils at one time. So this cycle is continuous, nothing is lost. We are the parents of our children. Probably after a few generations they will be our parents or our grandparents. So this whole cycle will continue as it is. Everything is going to remain over here, nothing is going anywhere. Okay. So this was one point which I wanted to make very very a prominent point. One was the stone. That stone always reminds me of that cycle of life, that like water, and then the water vapor, and then the water vapor again turns to rain, and that rain, when falls in cold places, turns to snow or ice. So these are all the different forms of water. That water element is there in all of them. Likewise, we all also have that same element in us. The forms keep changing. The forms are constantly changing, and we get carried away by what we see, which is actually only Maya. All this is Maya. There is that one thing which connects all of us. That godhood is common to each one of us. Everybody has that. Now, in Buddhism, when you do these sessions, they say a wonderful thing. They say, they all bow down to each other and they say, the highest in me bows down to the highest in you. So we are honoring the highest, that Godhead that everybody has, and we are also honoring that Godhead that we have. So all of us have that one Jyoti which is common inside us, which is there in the stone, in the trees, in the sky, in the buildings, in the trees, in the birds, in the animals. It's all there. Okay. So this one concept, and the other concept was the river. This was also very beautifully mentioned in that book, that everything is changing. Like I just said, everything is going to keep changing in this life. Change is the only constant. Wherever we are, if you are familiar with the biology of this human body, we keep continuously making new cells in our body. So the body that you see today is not going to be the same after 1 month. Each and every cell in our body dies and a new one comes up. So our organs, all our organs are refurbished from time to time. Each and every cell, each and every process is refurbished. So this is a natural process which helps us keep changing. And there is such a big lesson in this, that as these things keep changing, so should we. We should never be constant. Our learnings should always continue. Wherever we go, those learnings must always continue. So I'll tell you, give you an example. There was this group of people that I've been associated with for almost 20-25 years now. And I was very keen to move away from them. And I said, okay, bus, I think I've had enough. And we'll meet whenever possible, but not on a regular basis. But things happened, and I happened to go back to that group, and a thought just came into my head, and I said, probably I have not learned everything I needed to from that group. So all the people that are there in our life are here for a purpose. They're all here for a reason, and we are nobody to kind of disturb that equilibrium. Things happen on their own. Everything will happen on their own. We don't need to push anything in our inner circle or out of our inner circle. Everything just happens. Everything is just happening. We are only the observers. We are only the observers. We are nothing else. Like Anu and I were just talking, you plan to do things. When you plan to do things, you are bound. You are bound by it. Well, you should just live free. Everybody should just live free and go with the flow. So the third point was, of course, karma. That is a big theory in Buddhism. Karma is the cause and effect theory. Whatever you do, however your intentions are, you are going to get the same thing back. The cause and effect of every action is going to come back to you. And the intent is most important. Whatever your intent is in doing that act is going to define your karma. If you are speaking untruth for the benefit of somebody, and it is not bothering anybody else, it is not disturbing any other equilibrium, you're good, because your intent is good. So we need to actually have those demarcated lines in our own head, and we should have our black and white and grays very, very evident and very well explained to ourselves, so that we know what falls there. And our intentions have to be clear. Our intentions have to be clear. Period. I mean, I think after reading, hearing, listening to so many people and so many things, ultimately it all boils down to your intent. If your intent is good, you're good, and nothing else beyond that. अगर मन अच्छा है तो सब अच्छा है, अगर मन अच्छा नहीं है तो कुछ अच्छा नहीं है. और if you're doing something with बहुत अच्छा मन, then everything is good. Yeah. So he, like we all know that Buddha left, he was very well protected as a prince, and his father used to really protect him because somebody had told him that this person is going to be a very big ascetic and all of that. So the father said that I'm going to protect him from the world so that he grows up as a prince and takes over as a king. But one day when Buddha left, and we know the story that he saw those four people, they were suffering, the old age. He'd never seen all of this. He had never seen a dead body before. And that is what stirred everything inside him. And this suffering, okay, so not too many people have spoken about suffering, but in Buddhism, they have spoken beautifully about suffering. That we should train ourselves in such a way that these things do not make us suffer. Whatever happens in our life, we have to keep it away from suffering. How do we protect ourselves from suffering? So they have given us a few guidelines to live. Buddha gave us a few guidelines to live, which can reduce your suffering, which can take you away from suffering. And how does that happen? What are those guidelines are? uh, he says that, when we are greedy, when we want pleasures in life, when there is ignorance, these are the three main things that causes suffering in us. So greedy, because when you need less but you want more all the time, that is what is greed. You are never satisfied with what you have. So you're always going to be restless. You're going to be miserable. You are not going to be happy with what you have. If you're not happy with what you have, you're suffering all the time. There's going to be jealousy also. There is going to be pain also. There is going to be frustration also. That's all suffering. So what do? Be happy in what you have. Contentment is very, very important. When whatever you have and you're happy with it, you are going to be, if you're happy inside, you will be happy outside. So contentment, and you have to cut this greed. And when you're doing things only for pleasure, when you're doing things only for pleasure, that is only for the satisfaction of your sensory organs, then we have a problem. We have a problem, because when you're enjoying eating too much and you're satisfying your taste buds, that's a problem. When you constantly want to look at good stuff, that's a problem. You can't avoid the bad stuff in life. When you constantly want to smell good stuff, you cannot do it. When you want to hear only the good stuff, when you're only looking at the pleasures, the physical pleasures of life, so you tend to do all the wrong things. We have to accept all of this in its totality. This, I mean, life. And when we keep ourselves in check, when we keep our senses in check, and we do not run after pleasure, physical pleasure, we can contain ourselves and we can avoid suffering. And the biggest reason of suffering, of course, is ignorance. Ignorance of what? For example, if we have pain in our body. So there are some theories that say that if you can, imagine that this pain has been sent to you to teach you a lesson. There is something that you learn from that pain also. And if this pain has come to you and you do not understand why this is happening to you, it is going to give you a whole lot of suffering. So in our theory, the karmic theory, we say, okay, this must be some karma that is coming in front of us. So when you get a little reason behind whatever you are going through, suffering decreases. When you can understand that experience that you're having, which is not a very positive experience, and you can understand some story behind it, it kind of sobers you down. It kind of helps you to accept it. Once you accept it, then the suffering also diminishes. Acceptance is very, very important. If I'm having a headache, I'm going to accept it that I'm having a headache. If I've had a loss, I should first accept it that I've had a loss. So until and unless you don't accept those things, you cannot go about improving them. So acceptance is very, very important, and acceptance comes when there is knowledge and in the absence of ignorance. That is when acceptance comes. And that is when you are kept away, or you can manage and you can understand suffering and keep yourself uh, away from it. So, the first time I heard the word nirvana was, of course, in class 9 when we were studying Gautam Buddha. And I did not know what nirvana was. And after that, I've heard this word so often. And a friend of mine had once, while we were talking about this in school, somebody said, it's like in the comic books, when there is a light bulb in your head and it lights up, that is nirvana. And that has stayed with me all along. Yes, that is nirvana. Like I always say, when all the dhakkans of your thinking open, that is like getting a new lease of life. So when you get that electric current in your head and the light comes out, that's nirvana. When you get connected to your inner self, when there is oneness. But what are we running after? Independence. We want our children to be independent. We want ourselves to be independent physically, financially, emotionally. We are all working towards being independent. But there is no such thing as independence. It is only about interdependence. It's only interdependence. We cannot live on our own. Everybody is connected. We are all a part of that huge jigsaw puzzle. And we all have a purpose in life. There was this book I read, Mitch Albom was the author, and it said 5 people you meet in heaven. So this is about this book where 5 people wait for you in heaven. After you pass on, you meet these people, and these people explain to you and show you whatever you've done in your life. And you start then connecting the dots, and you realize this action was so simple. I didn't know it's going to go so far, and so many people are going to be affected by it. You don't even realize it. You absolutely don't realize it. You meet somebody, you like meeting that person, and somewhere that person says something to you which stays in your head, which is going to help you sometime in your life. So everything is a divine design. And when these 5 people meet you in heaven, they tell you that when you did this, so many people were affected, good or bad action, whatever. Then the intent is seen. So everything here is also connected. So, like Buddha has said, he's given us these eightfold paths, when they talk about uh, right action, right view, right intent, right conduct, right uh, mindfulness, right effort, all of that. So if you are looking at it from this Buddhist point of view, so you have these laws, you have these, they have these little tricks of the trade which help you to live and which support you, and they give you guidance to move forward. So the main purpose being the same thing. If you can live in awareness, if you can live in mindfulness, if you can be aware of each and every action that you are doing today, those 5 people you meet in heaven are only going to show you the good stuff. Because the intent behind whatever you have done is correct to the best of your knowledge and your ability. So that is again a very beautiful thing. And when you are you know, it is easy to be a good human being, but it is very difficult, I think, to be a human being. There is a difference here. So when you are true to yourself, like they say, there's a difference between acha and sacha. When you are a true human being, uh, true to yourself, then the understanding, the reach, and the way you live is going to be very natural. And if you can live naturally, you will be at peace. And that is a very easy method to get nirvana. You remember that light bulb in your head? So, to reach that light bulb, you have to be yourself, your authentic self. You cannot have any peels, like the onion peels. You cannot have that. You need to be authentic and true to yourself. Period. And that's how you can reach nirvana. So, there was this podcast I was seeing. It was very interesting. That was also from a Buddhist monk, and he said that life is very easy when you live in ease. Life is very difficult when you live in difficulty. This might seem like a very ordinary sentence, but he explained it this way. He said he used to live in the village, and they were all very happy living over there. They used to only just work for 2 months in a year, and they used to grow rice, and they used to have enough rice, a small plot of land where they used to grow their vegetables, a small little pond where they used to keep their fish, and it was enough for their life. And they had enough time also to be with themselves, to chit chat, to have a good community life, to keep, be mindful, keep thinking, keep questioning, and spend time with yourself. So there was no rush, and there was no depression. There was no sadness, because there was so much of intermingling and enough time to have fun. Now, cut to, he said that once the television came and once this media and everything started coming in, they used to stay in this small little village in Thailand. So people started coming to them and saying that, look, you're so poor, you need to go to the university, you need to study, you need to work hard, you need to have a house, you need to make some more money. So the children of this village get inspired and they move to Bangkok. They start working and they start going to the university. They start working for like 10 hours a day, but they are all staying in one room. So many people staying in the same room, and they all get the same thing to eat for twice a day, the same soupy noodles. So he gets very frustrated. Then he goes to the university. There's so much to study. He says, I never liked sitting in the classroom. I wasn't learning nothing new. They were teaching us from books. Says, but those books are the knowledge that we had gained outside, living in the open. That is what the books were teaching us. So we had practical knowledge. So he left the college and he went back to his village. Once he went back to the village, he said, this is so much better. I'm working only 2 months in a year. What all do I need? I need food. I'm getting it from the farm. I need shelter. I make my own house. He says, in 3 months' time, we make our own houses. Now I have so many houses. Every evening I have to decide which house am I going to sleep in. So he says, but here in the towns, people have to work for 30 years to make a decent house for themselves. Or they buy a house and they have to pay money for the next 15, 20 years to own that house. He says, but in the village, we can just make a house. So you've got your food, you've got your shelter. For the clothing, he says all these people share their clothes. Anybody who comes to our village sees us with tatters, so they come and they give us clothes. The point I'm trying to make is to live in surrender. Once you live in surrender and you trust the universe, everything that you need is going to come to you. So there is no stress. There is absolutely no stress. We have to live in that moment and we have to be calm about it. Like Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, and Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. What does this mean? So I dwelled a lot into this, but it is very simple. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami is Buddha the guide. We are invoking the guide within us. We are invoking the guide around us. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Dhamma was the path that he gave us. So we are again invoking and inviting that path which is going to show us the way forward. And Sangham. Sangham is the Sangha, is the company you keep, the people you have conversations with, the people that you keep around yourself. So these are the three big graces that you need in your life to lead a good life. There is nothing else beyond that. To live in simplicity, to live in surrender, to be interdependent, to understand that each one of us is interdependent on each other. We are not independent, we are interdependent. So once we catch hold of this, I think this whole concept of one-upmanship, this whole concept of beating the other person and being right there on top is going to finish, is going to diminish. Because each one of us is the same thing. I'm a reflection of you, you are a reflection of me. Whatever I'm seeing, whatever you are seeing and experiences, it has this element in it. We are all a part of that same element. We are all the same. There is no difference between you and me. There is no difference between God and us. You know what Sai Baba used to say, that the only difference between you and me is that I know that I am God and you do not know that you are God. And I think that is the only difference between a spiritually aware person and a person who is not so spiritual or aware, is the person who's spiritually aware knows that there is God in him and he is God. But somebody who doesn't know, who's into ego, who's into proving themselves, they do not know that they are God. So I mean, it is very important that we have to look for something that appeals to us. It could be any great person's life story. It could be any spiritual experience that we have had. It could be learnings can come from anywhere. And when the seeker is ready, the guru will appear. So when we are in a constant state of seeking, when we are constantly waiting to receive gyan, it will come from everywhere. There's this excellent, play that has been going on in Delhi. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Hamare Ram. And in that, there is this moment when Ram has killed Ravan and he is now on his knees and he's about to die. When Ram asks Lakshman to go and uh, ask Ravan about all the teachings that he would like to share, all the gyan that he would like to share with Lakshman. Now, Lakshman is an angry young man, and when he goes up to Ravan, with that attitude, he just stands where his head is and he says that, Lanka Naresh, please teach me, give me gyan. Now, why would Lanka Naresh want to get up and give this arrogant young man any kind of gyan? So he doesn't even open his eyes. Then Lakshman goes back to Ram and says that, look, you told me to go, and this fellow is so arrogant, he is not ready to share any advice with me or any gyan with me. So then Ram said that I saw the way you went to him. How do you go to a person when you are in receiving mode? When you want something from someone, how do you go to a person? How do you approach? You have to stand near his feet and you have to bow down because you are seeking something and you're seeking something as precious as gyan. So your arrogance has no place in it. A seeker cannot have any arrogance. So then he goes back to Ravan and he very humbly he bows down and he prays that Lanka Naresh, please give me gyan and all of that. And then Ravan, of course, with those golden words, he gives Lakshman the gyan. The point here I'm trying to make is that humility is the first element a seeker needs to inculcate in themselves. Humbleness. When you are seeking anything, you are like this. When you're giving, you are like this. So when you are asking, when you're craving something, you have to bow down. Because you're asking somebody, begging somebody to give you gyan. And when the seeker is in that state of being humble, that is when gyan comes. Because ego, arrogance is what stops you from the gyan. You know the sign of Christianity is that cross, and what does that cross signify? It is to cut your ego, cut that I. It's that I, and then you have a cross. It signifies to cut your ego. So every religion, every spiritual leader has always taught this. You have to cut that ego out. Who are you? Who are you? Do you know who you are? It's only just unfolding now. It's only, and we don't even realize, but we all have our egos. It's very good to have self respect. It's very good to have self respect. But it is not at all advisable to have ego. It takes you away from everything. Like again, I go back to that show that we saw, and Puramanti and I mean, we went together for it, and in which Ravan says that, what is the difference between Ram and Ravan? One very big difference. रावण को अपने ज्ञान का घमंड था. That Ravan was so arrogant about his gyan, about his knowledge. He was so arrogant. But Ram को अपने घमंड का ज्ञान था. उसको घमंड का ज्ञान था. He knew that what is arrogance and how to cut your ego. That is what made him Ram and made Ravan Ravan. This was the main difference. And each one of us, if we keep this conscious effort, we will see on a daily basis, on a minute to minute basis, how we identify with ourselves, how we identify with these bodies. This is all a sham. This is all a sham. We're all one. We're all one. This is just to identify that gross state of that soul. So our bodies are only the gross state of our souls and nothing else. So when we realize that there is this connection between all of us, amongst all of us, that is the oneness. That is when we are actually connected, and that is when we start our journey. And I don't know what else to say. If there's anything anybody wants to add to this or has any comment, please go ahead.
Thank you, Anjali. Always energetic and incorporating many ideas, many ways of talking, not just one book or one thought. So yeah, I'm not aware of the play, Mirena, but the thread that you kept alive during the session is that Gautam Buddha is like the Mount Everest of the place that we want to reach, we aspire to reach. But what kept him, like what made him Gautam Buddha, and what we can imbibe from his, Buddha Purnima yesterday is that being humble and also being not ghamand of whatever we have, whether physical objects that we own, or like degrees or the education that we have or our background. And that's what, like made Gautam Buddha the Gautam Buddha, because he went to different ashrams. Is the story behind that how he got this enlightenment on this Buddh Purnima day? Is that he went to ashram from
Yeah, here, sorry, Anu, I would like to add also mindfulness. Maybe I did not stress enough on it, but to be mindful of all your actions, to be observing all your actions. When you, if any of you have attended any of these mindfulness sessions, in that they make you have a piece of maybe a biscuit or a samosa with a cup of tea or coffee, and you have to actually bite into that biscuit and chew it 20 times. And you have to think of all those people who went behind making that little biscuit and that tea. It is such a powerful experience. And how then you walk in the woods, each and every step you take, which muscle is actually acting, which muscle is taking your body weight, and how you shift your body weight. We don't even realize these things, but these are all those subtle things that we take for granted. कि ये तो हो ही जाएगा, we can just get up and start walking, but each and every action that is there, that this body does, we should be aware of it. Live in awareness, live in mindfulness, and live in humility. Sorry, I cut you. Please.
So these are like what I'm trying to say is I'm just what is a takeaway for anybody listening to this or on YouTube, is that what are the things that we like underline or on this Buddha Purnima day is these things. Being mindful, of course, mindfulness is the the rock, the foundation of Buddhism. Vipassana, where they say it's all mindfulness, but being mindful of the present in the way, in some words that we can explain, being humble, and always uh, mindfulness is also responding to what is, like you cannot be coming from the background of your past always when we are responding to what is occurring right now. So to be open is also one of the traits of Gautam Buddha, because he was always open to many kind of teachings, many kind of teachings. Then after say length and breadth, after going to many ashrams, rishis, learning this, then he sat down on one day and then he said, okay, now I have learned enough or whatever. Now I have to experience it myself. And then when he sat down there in that Bodhi tree, and then eh, uh, so it is, of course, we have to learn from everywhere that, like the villagers there in that country, or from the degree, whatever, we cannot have a choice in the background we stayed where we were born. But then whatever we learn to incorporate it slowly and to get experience it ourselves, or whatever is relevant, is what Gautam Buddha's life or anybody we can like take in or take away. That was my takeaway, rather, my takeaway from what you said and Gautam Buddha's life. So anybody else can add what they heard or what you would like to say, hear or heard from Anjali's talk, or from yesterday's Buddh Purnima, any experience or any other thought of the day. Please unmute yourself and
Hello, good evening.
रेणु जी
We
आपकी
can't
आवाज
hear
नहीं
you,
आ रही.
Renu. We can't hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anjali ji. It was a very beautiful session. And the biggest takeaway for me is the difference between the Ram and Ravan. So very well said. We all know, but sometimes we forget. And the about Christianity, the I and the cross of the I. You have to, it is forgiveness and what to say. It is, we all know, but there are times when we forget this thing and we go in the flow. So important it is to be mindful. When we are mindful, then there are chances that, और वो जो आपने बोला कि when you are dead, the 5 people, they remind you of what were all the things that it has been done, was the biggest takeaway. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renuji. It's such a pleasure to see you. You are such a charming person. God bless you. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, God bless you. It's always wonderful to
Thank
talk
you
to
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, Anjali.
Thank you, Dharni is saying thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you, Dharni, for being here. Yes, Rajshri, आप कुछ बोलना चाह रही हैं?
मैं पूछना चाह रही थी कि जैसे आपने वो थाईलैंड का स्टोरी बताया विलेज का, तो वो स्टोरी के बाद जो है, तो एडवांसमेंट का इसका मतलब कोई जरूरत नहीं था. फूड एंड शेल्टर इज इनफ.
Yes, yes. It is so surprising. He said something wonderful. He said, this is not the most advanced times that we are living in. This is the most destructive time that we are living in. जो engineering लोग सीखते हैं, जो architects हैं, जो ये engineering build ही तो करते जाएंगे, और फॉरेस्ट खत्म होती जाएंगी, और आपके पहाड़ खत्म होते जाएंगे, आपकी रिवर्स और खत्म होती जाएंगी, क्योंकि वो डेवलपमेंट के लिए आपको ये सारी एजुकेशन चाहिए. जो एजुकेशन एक गुड लाइफ के लिए जरूरी है, वो हम सबके अंदर ऑलरेडी है. We all have enough. Like Gandhi ji said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. हम सबके पास इनफ है, पर हम लोगों को वो इनफ लगता ही नहीं है, क्योंकि दैट कंटेंटमेंट इज नॉट देयर. There is so much of competition. We are always looking to satisfy our desires, our displeasure, our anger, everything with materialistic things. मटीरियल सामान इतना भरता जा रहा है हमारे घरों में. हमारे दिल छोटे होते जा रहे हैं, हमारे घरों में सामान बढ़ता जा रहा है. हम छोड़ते नहीं है, उस सामान को भी पकड़ के बैठे रहते हैं. और दिल हमारे इतने छोटे हो गए हैं, उसके अंदर इतने कम लोग रहते हैं. अपने दिल को एक्सपैंड करो. अपने जो आपके अंदर जो प्यार है उसको शेयर करो, तो आप भी ग्रो करते हो. बंद जाते हैं हम. पढ़ाई लिखाई, पैसा कमाना है, घर बनाना है, गाड़ी खरीदनी है, बच्चों का पढ़ाई, आगे शादी, ये हम इन चक्कर में पड़ के हम अपनी लाइफ का जो पर्पस है उसको घुमा देते हैं कहीं. तो जो है हमको उसमें संतुष्ट रहना है. जितना है बहुत है. जस्ट लिव इन ग्रेस. ग्रेस 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 ग्रेस. शुक्र 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 शुक्र. अब राजश्री जी, जैसे आपकी तबीयत कैसी है, पहले बताएं.
हाँ, पहले से बेटर है.
गॉड ब्लेस यू. दिस इज सो वंडरफुल. मतलब आपने ये कहा तो मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई. गॉड ब्लेस यू. कल आज से भी बेटर होगी, परसों कल से भी बेटर होगी, उसके आगे और बेटर होती जाएगी. एंड यू विल सून बी ऑन योर फीट. और ये पूरा एक्सपीरियंस आप देखिए. अगर आप बहुत एक्टिव होती इस वक्त, तो क्या आप ये सारे सेशंस अटेंड करती हैं अनुराधा की? नहीं करती. आप इतना कुछ लेटे लेटे सीख रही हैं. आप इतना कुछ अपने आप को आपने एक्टिव रखा हुआ है. ये कितनी बड़ी बात है. तो कभी कभी ना लाइफ हमें कहती है, अब आप थोड़ा ठहर जाओ. हाँ, थोड़ा सा अपने बारे में देखो, अपने आप को देखो, थोड़ा समझो क्या हुआ है अभी तक, आगे क्या है क्या नहीं है, कुछ नहीं पता, पर थोड़ा सोचो, बैठ जाओ. और जैसे ही आप ऐसे सोचते हैं ना, आप अपने आप को बोलते हैं ना, जब बहुत स्ट्रेस चल रहा होता है, तो यू जस्ट हैव टू से ओके, just breathe and relax, and just relax, and gradually you will see that things start improving. Because we don't have to do anything. I will tell you, this is my example, perfect example. I used to roam around and have long lists every day. और जैसे जब कुत्तों को गर्मी लगती है तो वो करते हैं ना, तो आई यूज टू बी डूइंग दैट ड्यूरिंग द डे. ओ माय गॉड, ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है, इसका भी करना है, दिस आल्सो हैज टू बी डन, माय लिस्ट इज नॉट फिनिशिंग. एंड देन माय बॉडी एंड द गॉड इनसाइड मी टोल्ड मी, बैठ जाओ. ऐसे तो मैं सुनूंगी नहीं, तो मेरे ये शोल्डर का इशू कर दिया कि अब तुम बैठ जाओ. जस्ट सिट एंड ऑब्जर्व, जस्ट स्पेंड टाइम विद योरसेल्फ. यू आर नॉट सच अ बैड पर्सन, डोंट रन अवे फ्रॉम योरसेल्फ. You are a wonderful person. You are great company. Keep telling yourself that, Rajshri जी. आप अपने आप को कहिए, अरे हाँ, गुड कंपनी, कितना मजा आ रहा है मुझे अपने साथ, कोई डिस्टर्ब नहीं कर रहा है आपको, किसी के साथ कुछ सोचना नहीं है. यू स्पेंड टाइम विद योरसेल्फ. डू सेल्फ टॉक, डू सेल्फ टॉक.
मैम अभी वही कर रही हूँ, उसी से ही थोड़ा ज्यादा स्पीडी हुआ है. मेरे को यही
वंडरफुल.
लगता है कि पहले पहले मुझे लगता था कि मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ, जब घर में सब थे तब मैं क्यों नहीं बीमार हुई. तो लगता है कि तब तो मैं बीमार होती तो मुझे आज जो लर्निंग मिल रही है वो नहीं मिलती. जब मेरे पास चारों तरफ कुछ नहीं है तब मुझे लग रहा है कि मेरी कितनी केयर की जा रही है, मुझे इतने सारे चीजें अवेलेबल हो रही है, और वो भी एक इस छोटे से फोन से. मुझे ना कहीं जाना है ना कुछ करना है, सोए सोए बस खाली इसको चलाना है. और उसमें भी कोई बाइंडिंग नहीं है मेरे ऊपर. मेरी इच्छा हो तो चलाओ, मेरी इच्छा हो मत चलाओ. मैं इच्छा हो तो मैं वीडियो ऑन करूं, नहीं इच्छा है तो नहीं ऑन करूं, बोलना है तो बोलूं, नहीं बोलना है. मतलब इससे ज्यादा फ्रीडम और आपको क्या मिलेगी. पर बस एक बात ये पूछनी है कि जैसे हम कहते हैं कि ग्रैटिट्यूड, तो अब जैसे इस फोन के लिए ग्रैटिट्यूड आता है, जूम के लिए ग्रैटिट्यूड आता है. ये कोरोना के बाद जूम बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिव हो गया. जूम मैं पहले भी करती थी, मेरा फ्रेंड है एक अमेरिका से कराते हैं, तो उनके साथ हम लोग बहुत साल से कर रहे हैं. किंतु कोरोना के बाद ये बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिव हो गया. तो अब अगर कहते हैं कि भाई ग्रैटिट्यूड करो, तो अगर मैं इसको ग्रैटिट्यूड कर रही हूँ तो मतलब मन में ये आता है कि फिर वो जो लाइफ के लिए सोच रहे हैं, फूड एंड शेल्टर एंड इनफ एंड कंटेंटमेंट, तो ये एडवांसमेंट क्या है फिर. ये बहुत बार कंफ्यूजन आता है माइंड में.
तो ये आपके पास अवेलेबल है, ये चीज आपको इस चीज की जरूरत है और आपके पास है, इसी में बहुत शुक्र है. You need it and you have it. There is a difference between need and want. इस वक्त ये आपकी नीड है और ये आपके पास है, तो उसके लिए ग्रैटिट्यूड.
थैंक यू फॉर द क्लैरिटी.
मैम, गॉड ब्लेस यू मैम, God bless you.
थैंक
You
यू.
know,
थैंक यू.
my mother was very sick the last few years, and she was on a wheelchair. So we had to lift her up and put her on the wheelchair. She was, बड़ा उनकी तबीयत खराब थी, but her spirit was top class. So whenever she used to go anywhere and people used to say, "How are you?" Everything. So she used to be smiling. Oh, very wonderful. अब मैं बहुत ठीक हूँ और मुझे तुम्हारे घर का सोफा नहीं पसंद, इसलिए मैं अपनी कुर्सी लेकर साथ चलती हूँ. सो वो पूरा का पूरा डिफ्यूज हो जाता था. यू नो, एवरीबडी यूज्ड टू लुक एट हर, ओ यू वर सो एक्टिव, यू वर सो ऑल ओवर द प्लेस. बट नाउ she said, no, 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 I'm absolutely all right. So एकदम से ये एटीट्यूड चेंज ही तो है और कुछ भी नहीं है. So you have to keep giving yourself reasons, and you have to keep giving yourself these little talks and experience everything, because when you experience everything you get over it. आप दुखी भी हुए, आपने डिनाई भी करा अपने आप को, फिर आपने एक्सेप्ट भी करा, और अब आप इतने पॉजिटिव फ्रेम ऑफ माइंड में हो, अब आपका दिमाग पीछे नहीं जाएगा, अब आप आगे ही आगे चलोगे. सो दैट इज ब्यूटिफुल, लवली, God bless you, Rashidi.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Dharani.
Hi. What a nice talk, and what a great man Gautam Buddha was. And I'm really influenced by Buddha because he is one say kya bole prophet, saint, God who is documented. No mythology or no falsehood about him, and he is one of us. He gave up everything and he became one of human beings. And what I really like is that all this about suffering, rebirth and all, it's he spoke about human beings, not कि जो बुद्धिस्ट है उसके साथ ये होगा या हिंदू के साथ या मुस्लिम के, मतलब that unity was there. All human beings are one. So it was really nice to hear about Gautam Buddha. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much, Dharani. This just reminds me of this story we had heard at Ajanta Ellora. There are those Mahayanas and all. They were Buddhist caves in Ajanta Ellora. And over there, they spoke about this cousin of Gautam Buddha's who was with him throughout. And he, kept waiting for Nirvana. Morning, evening, he says, I'm doing everything for Nirvana. I'm just waiting for it to come to me. When will it come? He used to get very, very desperate. I am doing all my kriyas, I'm doing all the service, I am living like a monk, I'm doing everything, but where is Nirvana? So he kept running after all the time, and it didn't come to him. Then one day, when he just gave up, he says, Pata nahi kab hoga, kya hoga, how will it come? Where will the bulb light up? He says, I don't know. He just gave up and, walked into his little hut. And as he was putting his head on his, they used to have those stone pillows. They were not the soft pillows at that time. They used to have stone pillows which used to be kept under the necks. And that used to prevent all these cervical issues. So that's how they used to sleep. So as he was putting his head on that stone pillow, and before it hit the stone pillow, the light bulb came on. And he suddenly was in nirvana. So when you stop chasing it, it comes to you. Like they say, love is like a butterfly. The more you run after it, it will run away from you. When you just sit down calmly, it will quietly come and sit on your shoulder. That is how subtle knowledge is. That is how subtle nirvana is, I think. I think so.
Yeah, Buddha also said, "Na, live in present moment. So don't chase, don't run after it."
Yeah. And breath, catch your breath. Stay with your breath. All that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dharni, Rajshri ji, Renu ji, Poonam, ma'am, Sunita ji, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful session. And please unmute yourself and we'll clap for Anjali. So always thought-provoking and great examples, stories, and great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you for pushing me every time. Thank you, Rajshri ji, Renu ji, Poonam ji, Sunita ji, Dharani ji. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
And we have to mention Madhulin also, who just stepped away. So
yeah, Madhulin has, yes, she just left. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.